Welcome back to the channel. Dane Scott from Dane Scott's Truckers Lounge. This is going to be installment, I think, 13 of the restoration of my 1966 K100. And we're rounding the third base going into home on the paint job. So I'm all the way around to the front and did some graphics this week, did a mural on the back and everything. So you guys are in for a treat. I'm going to catch you up on all that. And we're going to get schooled from Mr. Wizard on the transmission, as we had to fix some things and take it apart and make sure everything worked. So we made some video footage of him instructing us about it for dummies like me. So make sure that you pay attention. Don't be shooting those spitballs. Don't be wiping your boogers under the desk. Pay attention.
Gears in a 9-speed hood, I'd pull it in if I knew I could. The old truck stop's been gone a long time, so kick it in the rear and put the hammer down. Put this show on the road, shall we? 18 wheels just laying it down, and you can hear that humming sound. Pouring coal from a bright chrome stack, riding soft like a Cadillac. It's my life, it's my love, it's my Peterbilt 359.
I'm watching you guys.
Okay, so picking up from last week's episode, the dark green is on. All I have to start now is the lemon stripe and move to the door. And then I'll eventually move around to the front. Today, Saturday, day before I'm making this video, it's was time to get this finished and get it in the jade green. I'm pretty happy with the result. I don't have clear on it yet. I'm waiting for my time to go past, and then I'll clear it. And some people said, how come with acrylic you're clearing it? It should be all right. Well, it is a standalone product, but it looks so much better when I put acrylic clear over it. So I'm going to do that. And I think I finally got the hang of this spray can thing. Some of you suggested, and I don't know why I didn't think of this, but suggested changing my patterns as I do the layers. And yeah, that worked good. I think it really worked out well. I don't have the tiger striping, but nice that I just figured it out, right? Oh well, it's still going to look okay. Yeah, and I got the shutters working. I think I showed you that several videos ago, but I got them all painted with aluminum, and the radiator looks pretty darn good in there, but we don't know that for sure yet because we haven't been able to do a pressure test. But that's coming real soon. So there's that. It's time for the Grasshopper gang to get put on the back of the truck. Stick around town. Just got to make sure that it's centered. It's centered by measurement, but sometimes measuring isn't what you want. You want the eye. You want to look at it with your eye and see that it looks right. So I start off by doing the technical measurement exactly in the middle and all that stuff. But if it doesn't look right by eye, then you have to adjust. I'm not sure. The only thing that's going to be offset here is the up pipe intake is going to be there, which will throw it off. It'll kind of look like it's too close to one side, but it'll still be centered. So I got to decide exactly how I'm going to do it, or should I center it over the hole opening, which is not centered, but it might look right once I get the up pipe here. And like I said, it'll look like this is too close and it should have been moved over because that side doesn't have one. But then again, if I put it directly over, centered with the opening of the engine, I think that's the way to go. So I'm going to try that. Yeah, I think that's the way to go. Centered over the engine opening, and then if you look up there, it looks lopsided, but it's not once you put the up pipe there. See, it'll be just fine. Yep, that's what we're gonna do. Okay, there was a line of rivets. See them? Right through there. So I covered 1, 2, 3, 4 with the graphic, 5, one over here. So I got to pop the air bubbles around them and then warm them up to make them lay down. Okay, all the air bubbles are pretty well gone. See how you heat that up and then you close it in around the rivet? Okay, I got a little air under there, so you gotta poke it. Air will make it come back up. So you gotta make sure you've got some little air holes poked. Alright, so next comes this white up here, is so that I have a little bit of an overlap with this lip. You won't see it when you stand back. Okay. So the second piece overlaps the first one, and you line it up, and then you put her on. I bet you guys didn't know that. You know, a lot of these big graphics that you see on the side of truck trailers, they're paneled like this, but you don't see it because from a distance you can't even see the overlap lines. So that's how it's done, you know. But the bigger commercial shops have bigger material. I think they go up to 60 inches, 5 feet in height material. I mean, that's big printing. I've just got 15-inch, old school, small sign shop. I get the job done. You still panel it. So that's how it's done. All right, so there it is. Can you see the line? No, I told you. So I don't know if you guys remember what I did on the 379 mint chip, but that had the dark green and the light green stripes on it, and outlined in gold, which is typical for PACCAR. Both KWs and Peterbilts, they use gold a lot, separating stripes. But the problem is that the gold and the lime color is just too close of a hue, and as you get back, you lose it. You don't really see it. So what I like to do is put an accent right here, and I'm going to just use 1/8 inch black striping to make it pop. Okay, don't you guys think that looks good? That makes that gold pop better between the lime and the dark green, jade green. I think so. I think I'm going to leave it. So if you guys don't get it, if you didn't watch some of the earlier episodes, I named the truck Grasshopper. Well, Grasshopper came to me in serious decay from North Carolina, and along with him came a dead, stinking mouse nest in the dash, a stinking mouse in the oil pan. Oh yeah, and that there dead skeleton raccoon in the bunk that I had to clean out. Oh my gosh, I hate this. What is that? That's a freaking head. That was disgusting, and I was afraid I was going to run across a snake. And let's see, what else? Oh, the dead raccoon in the bunk, and the mice, and the snake. Actually, the snake's skin was kind of wrapped around the exhaust there, like he'd been there. And that's why I was afraid I might find him inside the sleeper. Dadgummit. That was disgusting. You have to go back and watch that episode. But that's the story behind the Grasshopper gang. And then one more thing I added here you guys haven't seen yet. Grasshopper's on the side. And it's kind of laid back. I didn't want it too in your face. But I think it'll look good like that. And it's centered right over the air cleaner, and the air cleaner is going to be the lime green color. Yeah, so we're getting close. We're going to be up into the cab probably this week, because we just finished up the transmission and air lines on that. And we're going to move into the cab and do some electrical. And then after all the electrical is done, it's time to do the cutoff. And then the air lines will be probably last. So we also got to do the exhaust. I don't know if you guys saw the other exhaust on there last week either. But I got that one up because I got the paint finished around there. And you saw, I do believe I showed you the black pin striping between the gold and the lime. And to me, how much better that looks, makes it stand out. I'm not all done, but I tested it to see if I like it, and I do like it. This episode is brought to you by Billy Parker, GMC and Detroit Diesel Restorations from Norwood, North Carolina. Okay, so if you want to take a little break, grab another cup of hot coffee, sit down, get an apple for the teacher, because we're going to go to school. Okay, we are draining the transmission because tomorrow we've got to take the end off of here. Now, I'm an amateur, okay? Mr. Wizard knows all the technical stuff, but he says water can and probably did get inside of there. And this is supposed to be installed this way. So we're going to take that off tomorrow. And we're also going to take the top off so that you can see what a 13-speed transmission looks like inside. And Mr. Wizard's going to give us some schooling. Okay, we're going to test the splitter.
Hold this one down.
Oh yeah. Nice. Click, click, click. She works.
Now, if you want to watch right here, synchronizer. Okay, let me see if I can get with this one. I don't know if I got enough air here or not. We'll see.
Oh yeah.
Yep. It move.
Yep.
And then it'll move back. Oh yeah.
Sweet.
I feel better about myself now.
Now, what's the synchronizer for dummies like me?
Low and high range.
Okay.
When you're in low range.
That's what's making the clicking sound?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
When you're in low range, a sliding clutch. I'm going by feel here. Okay, there's a fork here, right here. This piece right here is the sliding clutch. In a low range, it goes back into this big low gear. And then in high range, it comes forward and engages with this gear. Okay, this is bolted here. Now, there's newer designs. This is the air filter. This is the pressure regulator. Brings the operating air pressure down to 57.5 to 62.5 pounds. That's all that's in the air lines.
Oh, okay.
And that's with a minimum of 90 pounds in the truck.
So if the truck's running at 120 like usual, or 115,
it's still 57 to 62.5.
that's what backs it down.
Yeah, that's all what the whole air system operates on. Comes in here, goes through the filter to the regulator. This line goes up to the bottom of the slave valve. This one goes down here to the splitter where we're hooked up with the air hose right now. Okay?
Perfect world. Does the filter ever need attention?
If it does, you just replace it. If you're having trouble with the air system, you pressure test it. And as long as you're in those parameters, this isn't a problem. If you're not in those parameters, now you want the air system in the truck to be 90 psi or above before you test it.
Okay.
But now there's newer style, but this isn't the original style. There was an older. The air filter was a can about like that.
But if you were having shifting issues and you had the proper PSI and you still had issues, that might be a...
Well, no, if you got the proper PSI coming out of here, okay? You look here first. Splitter, you look under this nut first, and then you go from there. I mean, there's other things that can cause it. If you over tighten the plastic lines, it'll pinch them shut. That'll keep you from working.
I mean, your line's going to your shift knob?
Yeah, I like to snug them, build air, and if they'll be seeping, and I just tighten them till they stop seeping. Right. That way you don't pinch them shut. Because with the split ferrules, they will pinch shut. Puller hole here is threaded, doesn't have a bolt in it normally. One down here and one on the bottom. You clean those holes out and you thread the bolts in, and that'll separate the two housings. Once it separates, we set this lifting fixture in and tighten it up, and then all we do is hook it up and we can pry it the rest of the way out once it separates. That just goes into the regular bolt holes. This hole's for 10, this is 13 and 15, and this is 18. Okay, now we're just going to walk this off gently. You want to do that on your side? Okay. Okay. Now we just grab a hold of that yoke and work it up and down a little bit. It should come right out. There it is. Now, is this snap ring right here. These like to break. What happens is splines on this main shaft like to break, and then the snap ring comes off.
Well, it looks pretty good in there, though, don't it? Except for, well, gunk on the bottom of it.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll clean all that out. I wonder, I mean, that looks clean. This drive gear looks new. This is the auxiliary drive gear. This drives everything in the back end. That looks new because these teeth aren't hardly chipped off too bad. But my question is, how much did they clean up when they rebuild it? That's all steel. It'll be a lot cleaner when we're done. But now this also, if you have to change this drive gear, pull that snap ring, and this also has puller holes.
Okay.
And you run them in, and that just pulls it out because this bearing that it's riding on fits tight in the case.
And don't forget the aircraft wire, huh?
Yeah, yep.
Safety wire.
What's that?
Yeah. Look at the wire. What do you see?
Not done right. That's
No,
for darn sure.
no.
Holy mackerel.
Your lock wire should be pulling toward
Yeah.
tightening the bolt.
This is why we're pulling this.
This is upside down. This brass plug where the insert valve is supposed to be straight down,
Okay.
and it's straight up. That's to let the water and debris, it blows it out when it exhausts. The way this is made, it's made to hold water.
Yeah.
And I'm amazed that even shifted, to tell you the truth.
So should a person in this circumstance here, would there be any excessive wear to look for, anything?
I would look at the synchronizer, because if you got the wrong oil in it, these will wear out. If we were working this, we'd replace the synchronizer, because that's worn pretty good.
No, this is discolored here, so what material is that?
That's brass.
That's brass.
And the other one that's back here in the gear is also brass. All you can see is the pins sticking out of the back one. Now, the reason you got to use mineral oil is if you've got EP oil for differentials, there's carbon in it because EP is extreme pressure. In other words, when the gears come together without extreme pressure, it pushes the oil out from between the gears.
Gotcha.
You can be full of oil and it'll burn them up and it'll look like it didn't have a drop of oil in it. That carbon will build up in these grooves. And once it builds up in the grooves, this ceases to be a synchronizer. Because these grooves are made to take the oil off of the drive gear and this low gear to allow that to go in and match the speed so it can shift.
Okay.
And if you take that away,
You're talking about these grooves here?
those grooves there.
Okay.
And this one's back here is a male taper, but there's also grooves on it. This is low gear when you're in low range. When you're in low range, that drive gear is turning. Driving these two, when you're in low range, then these small gears drive this big gear.
All right.
And then when you're in direct, this shifts all the way forward, and it just goes into the auxiliary drive gear to the point that, say you're in fifth gear in the main box, whatever's going into the main box comes out of the main box and into this. If this is indirect, now back here, it's hard to see. You can see this fork right here. And that shifts the splitter, low to overdrive. When you shift overdrive, it goes into this gear back here, the one all the way in the back.
Okay.
It's overdrive because the drive gears here are bigger than the driven gear. Okay, if it's overdrive, drive gear is bigger than driven. If it's reduction, like this one, the drive gear is smaller than the driven gear.
Is that rust I see on there?
Yes, that's rust.
What's up with that? Just from sitting.
Set in 45 years.
Yeah.
That'll wear off.
Okay.
Condensate.
Yeah. Yeah, you get moisture inside the box. Probably could have got some in through the vent.
The one that's upside down?
No, the vent on the
transmission.
on the cover.
On the cover, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Now, if you want, we can hook the two hoses up, and I'll shift this splitter, and you can watch it work. And then I'll shift this one. This fork right here.
Right up
Okay.
under here.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to move back and forth. Okay. Right now it's in direct. As long as we got air. We got air? Yeah. Okay, it's in direct. Now I'm going to move it to overdrive. It's going to shift to the back.
Oh, yeah.
That goes to direct. Now, so in other words, when you go to overdrive on the button, on the knob,
That's what's happening.
that's what happens.
Okay.
And this has constant air pressure, so if you don't have air pressure, you haven't hit it to overdrive, it stays in direct range. Okay? So in other words, whatever's coming out of the synchronizer back here, because all direct range is, there's a collar, and that sliding clutch goes into that collar, and it's splined to this shaft. Right here, this little stub shaft. So in direct range, whatever's coming in is going out. Okay, but you can have high or low range, and it's still going to go out back there. Okay, because it's still hooked to this. Okay, and then now see if I can do this. Just watch your fingers. Okay, I'll take it to high range first up here.
Oh, yeah.
Now, it's not moving all the way because we don't have a rubber tip, but I would move it up and it'd engage with the drive gear. There's low range. Yeah, see, it went now because I
And then overdrive is what we looked at first.
overdrive's what you looked at first.
Yep.
Now, let's go up to the main box now. Okay, let's do one more thing. This is the slave valve. Now, depending on what shift knob you have, okay, because you can have the up and down with the splitter, two-position knob, or you can have the three-position knob.
Right.
Okay. We'll go up and down first. Okay, your air supply comes in to here. Okay. And then this plastic line goes up and supplies the up and down valve.
Okay.
Okay. It's the port closest to the shifter on the up and down.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. In low range, with the button down, the air stops there. Okay. Now inside here, we have a piston about that long, and it has, the big end is like a 1/2 inch, the small end is like a 1/4 inch. Now this has air pressure on the 1/4 inch all the time. Okay, because the 1/4 inch is down here. This is supply. There's always air pressure against it. Okay, now you're in low range, you got the button down. You pull the button up, air goes through the valve and comes back down to here. Now you got air pressure on the side of the 1/2 inch. Compared to the 1/4 inch, there's more
volume.
pounds per square inch because of the 1/2 inch compared to the 1/4, and this valve moves, and it exhausts down here on the bottom.
Okay.
Now when that moves, I'd have to take this cap off, and I'm going to try to avoid that. There's 2 ports on this cap. Okay, and the valve is sliding, and it allows air to go into one port or the other. For the sake of conversation, I could be backwards, but you're in low range. You got air here going up, it's shut off. You have no air here. The shuttle valve moves back. That would probably be this one. So the air would go out of that valve into this cap, into this line,
Right.
and back to low range. Right here. Okay. Now, pull the button up. You supply air down here. Move that valve because the head's bigger on it.
Yep.
And then it's going to move forward and come out of this hose and come back
To this side.
into high range. That moves that. Now this has nothing to do with the splitter. Okay? Now, that being said, if you have the 2-valve up and down and the 2-position splitter, what you will have is on the high range line, there'll be a T. Okay? The supply for the 2-position knob comes out of that T and it supplies the knob. Now what that does is you can't hit the splitter and move the splitter unless you're in high range. Okay? This is teed into the line that's going to the high range back here.
Yeah.
Okay? Otherwise the splitter just don't work because there's no air. And when you hit the button, of course, the air goes down the plastic line and does what I showed you a minute ago. Okay? Now if you got the 3-position knob,
Which is what this has.
yeah, yep. And especially if you go from a 2-position to a 3-position. The knob works different. Okay, the up and down in low range, there's no air. 3-position knob in low range, there is air. In direct, there isn't. So that makes this work backwards. So you have to flip the high and low range. It's usually easier back here. You just cross the lines, the 3-position knob will work.
Oh, that's what we had to do to the 79.
Yep. I had to do Ron's too. It's just the design in the knob. Now, if you change the knob and you don't have air leaking out of it, and you haven't pinched the plastic line shut, you're plumbed right. Okay? If you get a line crossed, you're going to have air leak out of that knob. Either one, the 2-position or the 3. So, if you got it hooked up and you don't have air leaking out, you got a problem somewhere else.
Okay. Now, when you say air leaking out, not a volume, not a rush, just
No.
it's going to hiss.
It's going to come out the exhaust on the
Yeah.
knob. Okay. Other than you could have a bad knob too, I guess.
They do get, yeah.
Yeah, they do go bad. Okay, let's do the main box. There again, keep in mind that we have reduction, which is a small gear driving a big gear. Direct, which is straight through, there's no ratio change at all. It's 1-to-1 through there. Or if you got overdrive, you have a bigger gear driving a smaller gear. Okay? Now, pretty much any transmission. I have seen a couple that first and reverse were flopped. Generally, reverse is in back. Okay? You can tell reverse when the engine from the front is turning clockwise. Okay, any rotation is always taken from the front. So, with the clutch engaged, the engine idling, this is turning clockwise.
Okay.
When you turn a gear clockwise, the adjoining gear is going to turn counterclockwise.
Right.
Okay, so we're driving it here. This is going clockwise, this is going counterclockwise. You get back here to reverse, this is still going counterclockwise. Looking at it from the front. You've got a reverse gear that takes it clockwise. Always got an idler gear for reverse. There's one down below, there's one right here. That changes your direction to where you get to here. Okay, we were counterclockwise, clockwise, counterclockwise. That gives you reverse.
Okay.
Okay? Now all that does is this sliding collar engages with this gear. I can't move it. Okay? Then you go to first gear, which will have the smallest gear driving the biggest gear. This goes here. Now keep in mind, with your shifter, if you're going into reverse, you're going to go to the left and forward. The shift lever is a lever, and there's a pivot. So when it pivots, you go over here and go forward. When it pivots, it pushes this back for reverse. When you go back, it pivots forward and pushes you in first gear. Okay? This is second, this is third. Same deal. This is fourth. Now fifth gear in this transmission is right there. Fifth gear is whatever the engine's doing, the output of this is doing. None of these gears get involved because we've hooked it solid. I mean, they're spinning, but nobody else, these are all spinning free.
All spinning free.
When Fuller come up with the twin countershaft idea, this transmission would have been back to the differential. Because the gears have to be so big if it was the single countershaft. Okay? They can make the gears smaller and lighter when they split the load between the two. And that's why twin countershaft come in.
I see.
Okay? I don't know, you ever seen like an R96 or an RT960? Or R960, not an RT. They're 6 foot long. That cracker box in New York you're talking about. That's got
Because they're not twin countershaft.
they're not twin countershaft. Yeah. Okay, for all the guys that get excited about a double overdrive and the adrenaline pumps and their splitter thumb quivers,
You put it a little bit closer there.
you take this set of gears here, the main drive, and the front gears on the countershafts, and this set, and you flip them. This goes up here, this goes back here, and these flip.
And that's for what?
Double overdrive.
Oh, okay.
So in other words, when you shift, your highest gear in the main box is against the dash. And
That's why. Okay.
Yeah, and everybody gets excited because apparently they can't drive fast enough to get a speeding ticket the way it is. So, don't make a lick of sense to me.
That was the sarcasm?
That was the sarcasm,
Okay.
yeah. And reduced fuel mileage that everybody worries about. Okay? But anyway, that's all you do to that. Now, but you don't press against this gear like a lot of people want to. You come back and you press against this gear. All these gears come off and all these gears go back on. These two are made on the shaft. The rest of them press off. Takes 25 ton minimum. I like to use a 50 ton.
What is the reason for not resting your hand on the shifter like a lot of guys do?
It wears these grooves right here in the shift blocks, and it also wears a groove in the shift fork. Now these don't engage that much. If you look at here, I don't know if you can see it real well, these only engage about as far as my finger. They don't go all the way in, just a little bit. Now you get that where that isn't engaged, it'll start jumping out.
Oh.
Now, if you got a groove here, this groove is wore, and you got a groove in the fork, everything's only going to move so far. Now you start jumping out. That's like the ape-hanger shifters.
Well, that was going to be a question I was going to ask, and I know it'll generate a lot of ire, but
Oh,
I've
yeah.
just been curious that when you've got that much weight up here flopping around, because it vibrates and it shimmies and it shakes
Yeah.
going down the road, clearly it's
Yeah.
going to have to.
Yeah, you've got a longer
does
lever,
that
so
cause-
you've got more weight, you're putting more pressure on it.
So does that could cause excessive
no,
wear?
would.
It would.
Would cause excessive wear. Yeah. You guys that do transmissions all the time, they love all that stuff. Another thing is additives. Those are great too. You know, a witch cure in a can. Oh, I've got this, and it's quieter and it runs cooler and it's affecting the synchronizer. It's not the gear oil that this transmission was designed for. In fact, if you go up to a 146, the 6 being the 6th generation, they all use Mineral 90.
Mineral 90.
When you get to the 7th generation, and then they started their synchronizer and stuff were redesigned to where you use synthetics, and from the 7s on.
Next question. For all the guys that are always saying, what are you using that clutch for? How come you're not floating the gears? Let's address that.
Oh, I love that too. And you guys that rebuild transmissions love that. What happens?
Keeps them in business.
Now, what happens? When you shove the clutch down, it releases the pressure on these gears. See, because you're going down the road, you got the back wheels pushing against it, you got the engine pushing against it.
Right.
Okay? So, this here would be the back wheels. So the clutch is held tight into the gear. Okay, see that one just went in. And that's about as far as it goes. Okay, now that's held tight. If you shove the clutch down, it releases everything and comes out. If it doesn't, if you shift without the clutch, this holds, and you're putting pressure. There's a washer under this gear that the gears float on. There's no bearings holding these gears. Okay. They float on the washers, and the teeth both sides hold this up. Now, what that does, it brings the snap ring against the washer, and it overheats, it warps the washer, takes the heat treat out of the snap ring, and all of a sudden the transmission fails. Oh, I know you've done it for 13 million miles and never had a problem, but there's a whole bunch of them that do. Now, the latest I heard, I can't testify to it, but Eaton has started testing for failures. What's causing the failures? You get a transmission that's under warranty and it goes in with the washers burned up, no warranty. It's on you because you're shifting without the clutch.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So there you go.
No, I don't have.
So stop hating on me.
I don't have a rooster in the fight. If you want to shift without the clutch, have at it. It don't make a difference to me. But I'm just telling you.
But eventually, long enough,
Yeah.
it can catch up to it.
Oh yeah, I could pull these apart, and I know who shifted without the clutch and who didn't.
Yeah. Well, not this one because this one's been rebuilt, but my answer always is, well, the truck has worked so hard all its life, and the transmission and parts are old unless, you rebuild here. So why tempt fate and, be hard on it? Have you guys not heard? The second annual GMC Jamboree is right around the corner. It's going to be Saturday, June 1st, right here in Conneaut, Ohio. And the Days Inn, which is right across the road from where the show is giving a 10% discount. So if you reserve your room, make sure you tell them that's why you're here, and they'll give you the 10% discount. And also, Evergreen Lake Park Campground, which is right down the road, only like a block, is also doing the same thing. They're going to give 10% discount on if you're camping, you're bringing a camper, or I know they rent cabins. So you better make your plans. You better get your reservations in because they're filling up. And it's going to be bigger than last year. Last year was awesome. You guys made it happen. And so everybody's like, oh, you going to do it again? You going to do it again? I'm like, yeah. So I'm excited to bring it to you again. And what it is, it's not just GMCs. GMC is the, what do you want to call? We're calling out GMCs, and we're giving a prize to whichever GMC that the Boy Scouts pick out. Last year they picked out their favorite GMC, and Truck World gave them a killer tool bag full of all kinds of goodies. And I'm pretty sure they're going to do it again this year. So, and their fuel is like 40 cents cheaper than the place across the road. So it's going to be a killer day. And it starts at 10 a.m., goes to 4, 10-4, good buddy. So I hope to see you there. Okay, that's going to be a wrap for this episode. We don't have time for subscriber rides or the other truck show flyers. We'll do that again, probably next episode. So until next time, make sure you keep the hammer down, safe and sound.